this week I'm sharing 3 super quick and easy weeknight dinners that are healthy. I know a lot of us this year, one of our goals in 2026 is to not only get healthy, but stay healthy, eat a few more veggies, and a little less junk food, and these meals are here to help. I know a lot of us work full-time jobs. We have busy schedules. You might have kids, grandkids, extracurricular activities. And after working a full day and doing all the other activities, some of us, the last thing we want to think about is what's for dinner. And meal prepping, not everybody has time for. You know, everybody says, oh, meal prep on a Sunday, or pick a day during the week where you're not doing anything. Well, these days, most of us are doing something every day. So meal prepping can be a little bit tough too. So I'm here to help with these recipes. They'll be ready and on the table in 10 to 15 minutes, 20 at the most, and that includes all the prep time. And they're healthy. One of the main obstacles I find in nutrition coaching is most people say, I just don't have time to cook. I would rather just get something quick, easy, go through the drive-through, go to the deli, just get something quick and easy, right? Something convenient. Grab something out of the freezer, something processed and pre-made. It's the easy thing to do, but let me show you with these 3 quick recipes that you can have a healthy dinner on the table in the same amount of time and with very little effort. And today, the one that I'm starting with is just a cauliflower fried rice. You can use whatever veggies you have left over in the fridge or the freezer and just throw them all in. There's no wrong way to do this recipe. Just a few simple basic things, like I have some already pre-packaged and cut up cauliflower. This is super convenient, usually available in most grocery stores in the produce section. But I had a small head of broccoli that I hadn't done anything with in the fridge too. And I just simply started by chopping the stems off of the broccoli and the end off of my bok choy. So let me show you what I'm working with here. I've got some carrots that I've roughly chopped, the end of my bok choy, some white onion and the tops of the green onion, some mushroom, my broccoli, and I have this sad little half of a red bell pepper and some bok choy. And as far as spices go, I just have already poured into my little prep bowl a little bit of maple syrup, some red miso, and a little bit of tamari or gluten-free soy sauce. You could also use coconut aminos here in this recipe. And for spices, I just went ahead and poured out a little bit of salt, some garlic powder, onion powder, some ginger, and a little bit of spicy Szechuan pepper. And you can use whatever kind of spice mix that you like. I'm going with these because it's quick, easy, and what I have on hand. If you just do salt, pepper, garlic, and ginger, that's fine too. So I'm going to take a little bit of help in chopping this up today from my food processor. This will go by really quick. And I'm going to start with just throwing the harder vegetables in there first and pulsing those up. So I'm going to throw my carrots in there and my broccoli stalk and stems. And I'm just going to give this a pulse a couple of times. Roughly chopped, diced, and next I'm just going to throw in all of my cauliflower. This is just the most of 1 bag. I had a little bit of it on salad yesterday, but most of a bag. And you can do a half recipe, or you could double this recipe for a larger family. I'm just making enough today for my husband and I for dinner, and this is going to be the perfect amount. So I'm just going to pulse this up again. So you can see that made quite a lot. And once I have a nice like fluffy rice type texture, I'm just going to add it to my pan. Probably not a good idea to do that with my fingers. and the sharp blade. I've just added all of those processed veggies to the pan. I'm just going to turn it over medium, about medium to medium high heat. It'll depend on how hot your stove cooks. This one doesn't get like super hot, so I turn it on to medium high. And just look how nice and fluffy and colorful that is. It already looks so appetizing. And I'm hungry, so I can't wait to eat this. And for a protein source, I am just going to crumble in about, this is a half of a big block of tofu, which is more than enough for just Tony and I. Mr. Tony, my non-vegan husband, has really come around to eating some tofu lately. He's beginning to love it as much as I do. Well, maybe quite not that much, but he's coming around with the veggies. And some of you out there also, you might not be totally plant-based or vegan, and that's okay. I love sharing these easy, delicious recipes, simple ways to get some more veggies in your diet. You don't have to be vegan to be my friend. I still like you anyway. So I just have this over some medium-high heat, and I didn't put any oil in the pan. You could use a little bit of olive oil if you like, but I'm going to use a little bit of toasted sesame oil in here to season it. So I'm just going to water saute these veggies until they're just a little bit cooked. You know, they're processed down pretty fine, so you don't need to cook them too long. So just cook them to your liking. If you like them a little bit browned up or caramelized, that's fine too. But while these are getting going cooking, I'm just going to roughly chop up the rest of my veggies, if I can find my knife. And I'm just going to start with the end of the bok choy that I have that's a little bit tougher than the leaves. And I'm just going to roughly slice that up into slices. And the same with my white onion, just a rough chop on that. You know, one of my favorite things about takeout fried rice, the big chunks of veggies in there. So I like my onions to be a little bit chunky there. There's a piece of broccoli leaf. Just throw that in there. So some chunky onions, and I'll throw those in first before I throw in the softer veggies like the mushrooms and the bok choy leaves and the tofu. And of course I can't forget all of my yummy broccoli. You're looking to eat a high volume meal, this is also really good for that too, because you can eat a lot of this for very little calories if that's something that you're tracking. Alright, so that's going a little bit. I'm just going to add my spices in now. It's humid here today. They're a little bit sticky. It's humid, it's been raining. I have the door open. If you hear the wind chime outside, that's a real wind chime on the front porch. It's going, oh, and that already smells really yummy. And this meal, you could also just do as a completely raw meal. Sometimes I'll just pulse up my veggies like this in the food processor and have this meal raw with a little bit of spices, ginger, and maybe a little maple syrup and some hot chilies. And it's so good as a raw meal also. Alright, that's cooked down just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add my soy sauce, miso, and maple syrup. And that's red miso that I'm using in here for a little bit of saltiness, and the maple syrup for a little bit of sweetness. Another thing that I like about takeout fried rice usually isn't so great. They usually use a little bit of refined sugar in there or some sweetened rice wine vinegar. So I think the maple syrup is a good replacement there, but you can leave it out or use whatever you like. It's smelling like takeout, but much healthier and a fraction of the cost. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and add in my onion and the tops of my bok choy and my broccoli. I'm going to do those a little bit finer. Different textures and different sizes of veggies is what I'm going for here, just to keep it interesting. And I have cleaned some cremini mushrooms here. I'm just going to roughly chop those And I like to throw those in at the very end. With mushrooms, I either like them barely cooked or cooked really well. So we're gonna barely cook these. And again, I'm just chopping them up roughly into various sizes. Some sliced, some diced, some awkward, like me. That's okay though. And I'm gonna get my red bell pepper in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and crumble in my tofu as well. Now you could do this separately. You could marinate it a little bit and throw it in the air fryer and do a crispy tofu on top of the fried rice. But to keep it quick and simple, I'm just kind of crumbling it in, kind of resembling the egg that they would use in a takeout fried rice. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw in my mushrooms. And I think it's just gonna fit. And I'm just going to stir it a couple more times around just to heat those veggies through, the bok choy and the mushrooms. And dinner is ready, just like that. So quick and simple and so tasty and so satisfying. This is a very cozy, comforting meal, whether you eat it stir-fried or whether you have it raw. It's so filling and comforting, and with all of those nostalgic takeout flavors, so good. And the full recipe for each of these meals will be in the description box below. The next recipe I want to share is a weeknight staple for lots of families, and that's a taco. This recipe is flavorful, delicious, and quick and easy. And let me show you, the only ingredients that we have going into the tacos are some prepared lentils, some mushroom and some onion, and some seasoning. And this comes together so fast. I'm just going to go ahead and chop the mushroom and onion by hand, but by all means, if you want to put it in the food processor, you can do that and just give it a quick pulse. Or if you have one of those fancy little choppers, you know what I'm talking about. You see them all the time. You can chop them like that, make it even quicker. But I'm just going to give these all a quick rough dice. Doesn't have to be perfect. And this recipe just, it hits the spot every time. If you're craving Mexican food or tacos, this is a super easy go-to recipe for tacos. And this is also another high volume, low calorie meal. And it does have a good amount of protein in it. So if one of your goals this year in 2026 is to lose a little bit of fat or lose some weight, we call it weight loss, but really what we want to do is we want to lose a little bit of fat, right? Or just to be a little bit healthy, a little bit lighter, a little bit leaner. This is a great filling recipe. Mushrooms are super filling and satisfying with not a lot of calories, and the lentils provide a good amount of fiber and protein. Plus it's delicious. Like, it has to taste good or we're not going to eat it, right? We're going to go back to the junk food tacos. And you know, I feel like everybody has a family night taco recipe that's you know, kind of a go-to for that family, and I have several. Let me know in the comments what your favorite tacos are. I make all kinds of different tacos. They're just so quick, easy, and convenient. But this one is a super, like, rich, meaty type of taco. Kind of like, you know, the all-American style taco. You know the one I mean. Kind of like a fast food taco. So I have my pan just kind of heating over medium-high heat here. And I'm just going to throw all of my mushrooms in there. And I want to let the mushrooms kind of start to cook down and release some of their water. Mushrooms have loads of water in them, and as they cook, they'll release their water. And what that does is it just gives a deep, rich, umami flavor to whatever you're cooking if you throw the mushrooms in first and kind of let them cook down and some of the water evaporate. No need for any oil in the pan or to saute them in oil. you can just do this. In fact, it's best if you just do it right in a dry pan. And this was like just one regular package of cremini mushrooms. You can use any kind of mushroom you like. You could get the ones already chopped up, already sliced if you like, if that makes it a little bit easier. But we go through quite a few mushrooms. It's one of my husband's favorites. He thinks he can't have a salad without mushrooms, or any type of chili without mushrooms. So we always have those on hand, so it's always, you know, a convenient meat replacement. All right, I'm just gonna let those kind of hang out and cook while I chop up my onion. And I just have one regular yellow onion. This one's kind of large, so I probably won't use all of this. I used a little bit of it already, and I'm gonna use probably another half of this amount, or roughly half a cup of chopped yellow onion. All right, and see how much those cooked down? I think we're good to go ahead and add our onions now. Oh man, that smells so good. Anytime mushroom and onion go into a hot pan, it smells like dinner. Dinner is cooking, and it's such a comforting smell, to me anyway. And for the onions, I'm just going to reduce the heat down to about medium-low, and let them saute until they're nice and tender. If I need to, I'll add a little bit of water if they start to stick too terribly, but my pan is pretty well seasoned, and I keep it pretty well seasoned, so I don't have too much of a problem with anything sticking in my cast iron. But if you're using stainless steel, you might need to add a little bit of water to get the onions to saute, or broth, whichever. Or if you want to use oil, that's fine too. I just choose not to cook with oil in general, just because I don't see a need for it. And I know a lot of you that follow the channel are salt and oil free, or SOS free. I'm not totally SOS free. If you watch the channel at all, you know I love my salt. I need it. I run as a hobby, so I definitely need the electrolytes. I need the salt. But that's something you can adjust. And if you want to use oil to saute your mushroom and onion, by all means, use some good quality olive oil or avocado oil. Perfectly fine. I'm not the oil police. All right, and those have sauteed down just a little bit. I am going to go ahead and add about a teaspoon of veggie bouillon paste. I'm just using Better Than Bouillon veggie paste. You could also just use a little broth or leave this out completely. I was looking for my mushroom powder, which seems to have disappeared. Currently, we're renovating my pantry, and it's like mid-process, and it really stalled out over the holidays. So everything is still in a little bit of chaos as far as where all the spices are and all the things that I usually keep in the pantry. I have some things behind me over here that usually are kept in the pantry, but right now the pantry is out of commission, so somewhere, I suppose, when we put everything back, I'm sure I'll come across my mushroom powder. But if you wanted to use some mushroom powder, this would be a good place to use it. And it looks like my onions they're about there. It's taken just a few minutes. And I'm going to go ahead and add a few tablespoons of salsa. This is my favorite brand. I'm using the medium one. You could use whichever brand you like. This is a thick and chunky one. So I'm going to go in with just a few tablespoons of that. And my lentils. And then all this has to do is heat through. And I'm just using these super convenient, already prepared lentils that come shelf stable. You could use canned lentils, or you could take a few minutes to cook them on the stovetop or in the Instapot. And I'm going to go ahead and throw in my spices at this point. And at this point, we just need it to really heat through and cook down our spices. So if you wanted to, you could use a pre-packaged taco seasoning mix. I usually don't buy those because I find that they're a little too heavy on the salt and not as spicy as I would like them to be. So for my spice mix, I'm just using some chili powder, some cumin, some Mexican oregano, onion powder, garlic powder, and salt and pepper. And I'm using a spicy Mexican chili powder. And that's pretty much it as far as the taco filling. While this heats up, I'm just going to quickly chop up some red onion and avocado for garnish and heat up a couple of tortillas, and dinner will be ready. So let's eat some tacos. So I'm just using regular corn tortillas here. You can use any kind of wrap or tortilla, or make yourself a taco bowl over a bed of quinoa. I like to make a mixture of quinoa, brown rice, and barley or buckwheat. They all cook at relatively the same rate, and it makes a good grain mixture. If you'd rather have them over some grains or over some greens, make a taco salad. But today I'm just doing good old-fashioned tacos. These are just regular corn tortillas. The only ingredients in these tortillas are corn, salt, and lime. So you can't get more traditional than that, and they just hit the spot every time. So I'm just heating them up right on the burner. This is how we have always done it in my household, the traditional way. Just heat them right over the fire till they're a little bit warm and toasty. But if you would like to, you could heat them in a pan or pop them between two damp towels and heat them for a few seconds in the microwave. These look nice and warm and just toasty enough to me. I don't want to burn them. Let's fill one up and see what we have here. Nice and warm and toasty. Just going to put some of my hot filling in there. And you could certainly chop up some lettuce, some greens to go in here too. I'm just doing a super simple taco here. I'm going to throw in some of my red onion, a little bit of cilantro, or a lot of it of cilantro because I happen to absolutely love it. And I'm going to put a little bit of sliced avocado on there. This was one perfect avocado. Pretty happy about that. And I have some cilantro lime dressing. This is another staple in my house that I usually have ready. This is a delicious, delicious recipe. I will link the short video where I made it in the comment section or in the description, and I hope you'll check it out because it's perfect for tacos, salads, and all kinds of other things. It is absolutely delicious. All right, let me give this a try because it just looks so good. So delicious. I hope you'll check it out.
And the last recipe I want to share is my quick and simplified harissa butter beans. This recipe I lost some of the footage for, but I still thought it was worth sharing with you guys, so I'll leave the full recipe in the description box. But it comes together in less than 10 minutes, and it is such a rich, hearty, and satisfying quick meal. I hope you will check it out. And as always, I really appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate the support in the community so much. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel and let me know what you think in the comments below about this week's recipes. And you can also find other recipes in my recipe collection on my playlist, and I also have several healthy ideas for what I eat in a day and what I eat in a week. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.